Thank you. Thank you for coming to another rousing meeting of House Education. Ashley, can you take the roll?
Representative Allred,
He's here. He's on his
Okay.
way.
Representative Andrew,
Here.
Representative Berger,
Here.
Representative Brown,
On his way also.
Representative Clauston,
Here.
Representative Lawley,
Here.
Vice Chairman Obermueller, he was here.
He's on his way.
Representative Provenza,
I am here.
and Chairman Northrup.
Here. Very good. Thank you.
Very lonely.
Thanks, Boyd. Go get him. All righty. So we're on Senate File 52, which is special or a school finance special education funding. Is the department, Trent, would you like to present this, please? I saw him this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trent Carroll, Wyoming Department of Education. This is an interim bill, and I spent quite a bit of time with the committee during the interim explaining the issue that we have here, so I won't spend as much time today reviewing everything. I think the important piece is this would essentially give us the ability to provide information to the federal government Office of Special Education Programs in a very transparent and easy to understand format regarding our maintenance of financial support for our federal IDEA funds. So we've been working through a discussion with them regarding our calculation process. And essentially this bill would segregate our state special education reimbursement. We would have a separate budget unit in our Department 205 budget for our state special education reimbursement. And we would provide our reimbursement payments as separate payments and delineate them as such rather than the current process. There is no change in the amount of funding that would be provided by the state. It's really just a change in how that occurs. So you can see on the fiscal note for this, there is an anticipated expenditure increase for both FY 23, 24, and on through 26. But there is a dollar for dollar corresponding revenue increase as well. So it's really a net zero change to the school foundation program. It allows us to portray this information in an easier format for everyone to understand. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions. Hopefully that provides at least a high level summary of what we're trying to do with this bill.
Thank you, Trent. Go ahead, Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you walk us through, and maybe you mentioned it and I blacked out, but the difference, but why we have an engrossed copy?
Go ahead, Trent.
So, Mr. Chairman, I might need a little bit of help here tracking that question.
We'll allow you to phone a friend.
Yeah. Matt, you want to take that one?
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Wilmarth, LSO. Representative Provenza, this was just a technical amendment from LSO. We had referenced the wrong subsection on page 2. If you look at line 22, Wyoming statute 2113-313, subsection C is there. We accidentally in our initial drafting put subsection E, which is the wrong reference.
Further questions? Go ahead, Representative Boston.
Just, do you guys anticipate that we'll see other federally funded programs being drawn out like this, or is this the only one that we're looking at?
Go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question. I don't currently anticipate any other changes at this time. This is really kind of a unique situation. We've had some other conversations with some of the COVID fund programs, ESSER, but those are one-time funds, and hopefully we can work through that process and then avoid a pandemic, at least for a little while. But we haven't had any other issues with current federal programs over recent years that would require something like this.
Go ahead, Representative Brown.
Thank you. Trent, I'm sorry. I'm really blanking at the impetus behind this, like what spurred this. I know that there was a,
Late.
I know. But Trent, I know that there was the rough idea was that the Federal Department of Ed was giving us some fits regarding how the calculations were going back and forth. And it was something to do with the maintenance of effort that was ultimately becoming the issue. Is that right? Am I remembering this right?
Mr. Chairman and Representative Brown, that is correct. Really, the primary issue is that there's a disagreement between what should be considered state revenues. Our state laws consider those local resources, the 25 and the 6 property taxes, as state revenues for purposes of funding education. And there's a disagreement in that terminology with what should be identified as state and what should be identified as local. And so really that's the issue. This bill would allow us to basically distribute all of our special education reimbursements from the state, and which should, I guess, address any questions about where that money's coming from.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee for the gentleman? All right, thanks, guys. Would anybody like to give public comment on this, Bill? Anybody else going once, going twice? If not, we'll close public comment. Anybody online? I should have asked. All right. Any comments from the committee on the bill?
Move the bill.
Moved by Brown, seconded by Lawley. Go ahead, Representative Clausen, do you have a comment? Nope. Okay, any amendments, page 1?
Question.
All right, thank you. Question being called, we'll proceed to vote. Go ahead and call it, Ashley.
All righty. Representative Allred,
Right.
Representative Andrew, Representative Berger,
Aye.
Representative Brown,
Thanks,
Aye.
Matt.
Representative Clausen,
Aye.
Representative Lawley,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Obermueller,
Aye.
Representative Provenza,
Aye.
Chairman Northrup,
Aye.
9 ayes do pass.
All right, thank you. Representative Larson, you're up. We had a bill canceled on us. Good bringer of that bill said he had an amendment being horsed in, and so he said, yeah, that's exactly right. So that puts you up a little sooner than normal, so. We're hearing Senate file number 83s, K-12. Oh, I'm sorry, Senate file 168, alternative teaching certificate. Representative Larson, please identify yourself.
Yes,
Or, I'm sorry, I said representative, Senator, please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Senator Larson, Senate District 19. And I bring you Senate File 168 and ask for your consideration. Hopefully we can get it through. Senate File 168 does two things. First, it puts another tool in Wyoming's toolbox to address the teacher shortage issue. Second, it allows programs designed to help highly qualified individuals make a career change to teaching in Wyoming schools. This bill allows entities an alternative path to teacher certification. This legislation allows individuals with a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university to use a self-paced program to qualify for certification. These are career changers, military veterans, and their spouses, maybe substitute teachers and paraprofessionals seeking full certification, and stay-at-home parents who wish to enter the workforce. These are individuals who typically will not return to college, meaning a missed opportunity to put them in our classroom. To complete the program, prospective teachers must pass pedagogy, that's the science of teaching and learning, and content exams. In the bill, it's shortened. On the Senate side, we had listed the curriculums, and we took that out, and we thought that through rule with the Professional Teachers Certification Board, they could make rules that would apply for that, decide which which curriculums could be done. Also, we discussed quite a bit, the fact that they may not have, that they need some classroom time. And so it would be up to the, usually it'd be up to the school district to decide that. So in the meantime, they'd get an interim certification. And then after maybe a year or two proving that they were capable, they could get a full certification. So it's a pretty short bill. I think we have support from the certification board. And so I'll sit here for questions.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Senator Larson from the committee? How is this different from the PIC program?
I'm not sure on the PIC program. You'd have to tell me what that is. I think currently they're doing this sort of stuff and through the board. But I think we need to get it in statute and just make sure this is the direction we want them to go.
All right, I know we
Yeah.
have somebody in the audience that can answer that question.
I do have somebody I think online that might want to speak about this. One of the programs that are doing this nationally. So hopefully they'll come up, or get online and you'll let them in. But thanks.
Okay, at the appropriate time. Representative Berger, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't know if Senator Larson knows this, but the PIC program, is that like a provisional
We have
licensing?
the right guy, yes.
We have the right guy. Okay, thank you.
Just sit next
Yeah,
to you.
please help take a chair and that's what we'll do is call up the department first. Does the Department of Education wish to comment on this? Thank you. Go ahead and state your name, please.
Mr. Chairman, Brendan O'Connor, Executive Director of the Professional Teaching Standards Board. For a second there, I thought you had me confused as being part of the department, and we are an autonomous board celebrating our 30th year of being an autonomous licensing board for educators. So, yes, the PTSB, as it's commonly referred to, it's easier to say, does license all educators in the state. The PIC permit that has been mentioned a few times is our professional industry career permit. That was established originally close to the establishment of the agency itself nearly 30 years ago to allow primarily CTE or career technical education occupation areas into the classroom. So for example, you often don't go to college to get a bachelor's degree in welding, but you might have a lot of welding experience and you can bring that into the classroom and then learn how to be a teacher that way. So that was the primary purpose of the PIC permit initially. Over the past few years, we have expanded allowances. For example, college professors would not have a direct way into K-12 public education. Using the PIC permit, we can use our college teaching experience, get them into the K-12 classroom. We have a variety of other avenues to get educators in who are career changers and so forth. So initially, I did tell the good sponsor of the bill that we already kind of do this, and we have allowed a number of alternative certification programs to come in. The idea through the Senate Education Committee and through the Senate itself, since they passed this amended version, was to make it a little more official instead of just having it in our rules, and that it would create a few more boundaries. We are comfortable with the amended language that is before you at this point. It does allow our board some latitude to not be limited to the one provider who was initially promoting this legislation. It allows us to choose and really investigate some of the different providers so that we are providing good services and qualified individuals to get into the classroom. As the good senator mentioned, we would likely through rules put these individuals on a provisional license for a few years so that they could go through get actual classroom experience and be verified by the hiring school district that they are performing adequately, making them then eligible for full licensure. And I provided the committee with a list from the provider in question of how they operate in the other states that they operate in. And as you see on that list, all of those states do provide a provisional license. They allow for that educator to go through a mentorship program or take some additional training while they're learning to become better teachers until they're eligible for full licensure. So in short, if it's short at this point, we do support. We can work with the bill as presented, and we will work with the vendors and through our rules process. And I stand for any
Thank you.
questions.
Questions? Go ahead, Representative Allred.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So during the provisional process, that's when they get their bachelor's degree too. Is this, because this says bachelor's in here.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Allred, they will be coming to this program already with a bachelor's degree. And then they are taking online tests that show that they have the content knowledge, and then they'll get some study guides so that they can pass the pedagogy test. The provisional license allows them some time actually in the classroom, because this would give them a certificate with them not ever having to observe a classroom even. The provisional would then give them that supervised actual experience while working and going through some mentorship and some training with the district.
Go ahead, Representative Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. O'Connor, thank you. Thanks for being here. When do districts with the provision license, do districts have to pay full salary for those on a provisional license? Or are districts on their own with that? Do they set their own policy? What's that procedure?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O'Connor.
Representative Berger, I believe someone from a district would better be able to answer that question. My understanding is, especially since they do have a bachelor's degree, they would probably start on the salary schedule at a beginning teacher, first step bachelor's degree level and move up. I have heard of some instances of the PIC permit being on a separate salary schedule in some districts, but some people on PIC permits are on the regular salary schedule. So that's a district choice.
So
Go ahead, follow up.
follow up. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. O'Connor, then how long can they be on that provisional license? How long do they have to get that certification to be a teacher? Is it self-paced? Could it be 10 years? Could it be 5 years? Or even passing the licensing tests that are required? How long do they have?
Go ahead, Mr. O'Connor.
Mr. Chairman Northrup, thank you. Representative Berger, that's what we will determine in our rules process, but I would say we already have some provisional licenses that allow people who are taking college classes to maybe earn a degree or shift. They can be working as well. Those are often at a year long, depending, to give them some time to get through a program. Some can be renewed. We can set it up in any way. For example, I'm kind of envisioning, but it's obviously up to my board to enact, putting a 2-year provisional license for this, where they would complete this program or any of the other competitor ones. They get this 2 years, gives them that chance to get that mentorship and do a couple of evaluation cycles through the district, just to be sure.
Representative Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for both being here. So I've got a couple questions. Could one of you speak to how such similar programs have been successful in other states? And then also, what kind of teacher shortages are we looking at here in Wyoming?
Go ahead, Mr. O'Connor.
Mr. Chairman Northrup, Representative Clausen. I would have to defer to some of the providers' records for how many people they've used in other states. I've reached out to a couple of my counterparts, And for example, North Dakota is one that comes to mind. They've had 20 people go through this particular program. And that's only been the last few years when that similar legislation passed through there. How many of those are still teaching? I don't know. Or their effectiveness, I don't know. We have a variety of different needs across the state. And again, the districts would be able to provide more anecdotal and direct notices of their needs. Special education is one area that is a need across the state. Certain areas, music teachers is a big need. Math, science, even English language arts in some locations have been hard to fill.
Further questions from the committee? Go ahead, Senator Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of weeks ago or a week ago, I looked on the Wyoming School Board's webpage and I saw quite a few listed already that they're looking for teachers. Elementary, there was 14, middle school, there was one for, I can't remember what that was. It was specifically middle school. I'm not sure what. English was 10, language arts was 5, math, there was 7 openings, music 3, PE 5. Science, there was 6, social studies, I saw 4, and special ed, I saw 19. So there is a big need for our teachers at the school districts to find teachers. A couple of, I think I can mention the national programs that that I know of. There was iTeach, that is one of them. Teach for America was another one. And the specific group that I was kind of working with was American Board, is what they're called. And I think, I thought they had like 19 states they were working with. And in their particular program, and maybe the others are about the same, usually it takes like 7 to 10 months for them to complete the course online. And they can do that in the evenings or whichever, or weekends, and up to 18 months. And a typical price, I don't know if I have that written down. It was like $1,700 for this company. And they had a special for trying to get military personnel and their spouses. And they gave them a break, maybe half for that or $1,000 or so. So anyway, just some information for you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Representative Brown.
Thank you. So this is probably going to be for both of you. But I guess what I've heard in testimony so far is we're already doing this, correct? So, Mr. Chairman, follow up on that. I got a head nod, so that helps just at least eliminate that. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I don't mind putting stuff into the green books, but what problem are we attempting to solve? Is it something that we have a potential certification program that was told no, and that us putting this into statute, they think they have a better chance of getting in? What problem are we ultimately trying to solve with this?
Either of you, go ahead, Senator.
I'm going to jump on first, if that's all right. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and Representative Brown. I think what we're bringing it for is boards change, leadership in the program changes, and I just don't want it to change. I want it to be in the books and solid and say that this is something we want.
And Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman, if I may, I would say that, yes, I would agree with that statement that administrations do change, but it's probably in the best interest of these providers that they have some statutory allowance.
Okay, further questions from the committee? All right, we'll open it up to public comment. Anybody out there like to make a public comment? Yes, thank you, gentlemen. There was a school board question, so.
Mr. Chairman, Boyd Brown, Wyoming School Boards Association. A couple things just to think about as we look at this bill. I would suggest that as we go through trying to keep up with the teacher shortage program, we can probably be much more resilient and quicker if we have it in rules rather than statutes to change. You guys only meet once a year. And if it's a budget year, it takes 2/3 vote to get something put on there. I would suggest that working with boards and superintendents at the Wyoming Professional Teaching Standards Board has been very nimble at trying to work with us to work on certification issues, specifically in areas that we've had difficulties in finding people. So I guess I'm not against the bill, but I think that we're already doing what the bill asks us to do. And I think that rules are much easier and simpler to work through than trying to change statutes. With that, I'll answer questions on that or pitch it over to my counterpart.
Do you have questions for Dr. Boyd? Anybody? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Farmer, Wyoming School Boards Association. Not really much to add to that. We don't have a position against the bill. We just look at it and ask the exact same question Representative Brown just asked. Why do we need this? What does it do? One of the things that I heard that concerns me a little bit was a reference to a provider. And I don't think we normally see legislation passed for the benefit of a particular provider. It should be for the benefit of students and school districts and what's good for all of our students. So we remain unaware of what benefit the bill provides. Most, if not all of this is already done by way of rule. Rule is law. It carries the full force and effect of law. It can be amended faster. It can be responded and responsive to the needs, and the Professional Teaching Standards Board already has the authority to promulgate rules and act on rules in this area.
Okay, well, I got a question right off the bat, and I was going to ask him about pay. You know, if they would be at the same pay schedule as a new graduate?
Mr. Chairman, I think what we do see is different district to district, depending on what the need and the certification is for. Many and most will do the normal pay schedules. But if you have a specific need, it may be for a different pay scale. Particularly when we're talking about like the CTE sort of certification for like a welding instructor or something along those lines. Dr. Brown, having been in multiple districts, may have additional insight.
The only thing that I would add to that, Mr. Chairman, is that I do know that some districts have provided stipends for certain areas to get them recruited in. So a hiring stipend to hire somebody in. I know that there was some federal money used for that. We also used some grant money a few years back to get people certified through the community colleges as well. So there's a few different ways that they do that. And I would say that it's best probably leave that still up to each one of the districts individually to kind of work through those issues.
That's what I was asking about, was the life experience, if they got any credit for that. Representative Clauston, you had a question?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you guys for testifying today. This is just ringing some bells from past discussions on the state board. Do we have a similar program through the State Board of Education that you guys are aware of? You know, we had talked about modeling after the Tennessee programs. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, the apprenticeship program is actually a project that the Wyoming Department of Education is working on right now. Looking at sort of this pilot of how can we use folks that are already in schools and get them into classrooms faster. So primarily targeting paraprofessionals, but it does use the traditional route, getting these folks through school, but using their work experience as a portion of that. So there are currently 4 pilot districts in that apprenticeship program, which is following that same concept as what Tennessee implemented. But those folks will ultimately get their credentialing through either Wyoming Community Colleges, University of Wyoming, or something more along the lines of a traditional route. But to the degree that they're able to utilize their current work experience to move that along faster, that is contemplated in that apprenticeship program.
Further questions for the gentleman? All right, thank you. Ashley, will you see if anybody online would like to testify?
Yes, Blake Ude. I'll be bringing him in. Alrighty, you're in the room. So if you want to unmute, turn on your camera if you're able.
Good afternoon. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Welcome to House Education.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senator Loudon, Brendan O'Connor from PTSB. We're happy to work with both this bill sponsor and PTSB on this legislation to testify before you in support of Senate File 168. For the record, my name is Blake Ude. I'm testifying on behalf of American Board for Certification of Teacher Excellence. We're one of the 5 that we know of and potentially more alternate certification programs that are working across the country to help address the teacher shortages that we're seeing. I think, I've heard in Wyoming, at least, started the school year, there are as many as 700 vacancies. Just briefly, who American Board is, we're a 20-year-old organization created by the U.S. Department of Education under the Bush administration to encourage local professionals to bring their real world experience to the classroom through teaching and to mitigate the teacher shortage. Since our establishment 20 years ago, we've worked to help certify 15,000 teachers across 14 states currently. And you asked about other states, and in the neighboring state of Idaho, since 2003, I believe is when American Board started there, 5,000 teachers have been certified in Idaho. This bill would allow us and similar other entities to offer an alternative pathway to teacher certification in Wyoming to help address the teacher shortage. Through our program, Wyoming citizens who already have a bachelor's degree can complete, as described, the self-paced online program that has an intense focus on both pedagogy as well as subject-specific areas. We offer subject matter competency in a variety of fields, including English language arts, U.S. and world history, mathematics, general science, biology, chemistry, and physics. I can tell you, at least from our program, we do not offer CTE opportunities. I know that was discussed earlier by the committee. And, I think as this bill is drafted, we look forward to working with PTSB to make these offerings available in Wyoming. Typically the individuals who participate in our program are the career changers, as described by Senator Loudon. You'll see that they already have years of career experience, and they tend to be the folks who have decided they want to give back in their community and work to become a teacher, to show kids what's possible if you're the local accountant who can teach math. And our program is around $1,700 and can be as low as $1,000 for military veterans and their spouses. A lot of times you'll see similar programs offered across the country that can be university based, and these will be as much as $6,000. You also asked about the effectiveness of these teachers. We believe the result can speak for themselves. At least in our program, our pedagogy aligns with the nationally recognized in-task pedagogy standards. Our certified teachers have been found to perform equal to or better than traditional college certified teachers on 19 of 20 indicators for teacher success, and this is measured by Drexel University. In addition, American Board teachers have a 97% retention rate at the 3-year mark, which is higher than the national rate of approximately 80%. We look forward to the opportunity to work with PTSB and the legislature to help resolve the teacher shortage in Wyoming. And with that, we urge you to support Senate File 168, and I'm happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, sir. You said your average cost is about $1,700. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes, sir.
Thank you. Further questions for the? Right, go ahead. Go ahead, Representative Clauston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my question to the speaker, or if anybody else wants to address it, but I'm in favor of anything we can do to fix the teacher shortage in Wyoming. I mean, we'll start next year's school year with 800 to 900 openings that we need to fill. University of Wyoming puts out 200 teachers a year, so we're well short. Can we use this American Board program now through rules, or do we have to implement this law?
Go ahead, sir. Can you answer that question?
Mr. Speaker, Representative Clauston, what we have found across the country is it's been affected to specify in statute that an alternative certification program can operate and then work closely with, in this case, the PTSB or the whatever state certification body exists. And it really is, as described by Mr. O'Connor, in the case of, administrations change and decision makers change, and a decision made today in a rule that can be changed quickly. 15 years from now, nobody may remember why we did it this way, or why everybody believed it was necessary to have this pathway. Just like in statute, you have a pathway through a traditional university approach. So that has been the reason that we have worked to have a statutory reference across the states in which we work.
Further questions for Mr. Youd? Anybody? Sir, we appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask if anybody else we had a few people walk in. Anybody else like to testify on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Winnie, Sublette County. I support the bill. I'm a FAA certificated flight instructor, have been for about 20 years now. They require you to go through things like a coursework of fundamentals of instruction and so on that I gather is probably close to the pedagogy that you just heard spoken to. Oddly, they don't require a bachelor's degree, but that's how they do it. I also spent 2 years teaching formally in the Navy Nuclear Propulsion Training Program, and then just running a ship and getting ready for examinations is a big deal. We used to have to write a quarterly letter to the 4-star in charge of the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, outlining the training and classroom type training we had done on our ship. If they didn't like what they saw, you got a phone call. Good news is I didn't get any phone calls. But I support the bill. You've got a lot of teachers slots you need to fill. This kind of thing will bring some real experience to the classroom, subject to your questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Winnie? Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Representative Brown, you had a question?
Maybe, Mr. Chairman. Actually, and the senator might be able to. So I'm just curious if they get this certification, we give them this information, does this require, or does this stop the like any other student who wants to become a teacher, right? Any person who's trying to become a teacher usually has to do in-classroom training, all that kind of stuff. Does this exempt them from that? Once they're certified with this, they can just go right into the classroom and teach, or do they still have to do student teaching? Go through that coursework to understand the nuances of what teaching truly is.
Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Brown, I think it's been discussed already here that they wouldn't do the student teaching specifically, but they would been given a temporary, or however you want to say, certification. And the school, I think, would probably, unless it is in rules that they decide it's a 2-year time period, the schools would probably make that determination, you know, they may want, after 1 year of working, they may decide that, yeah, we want him to, or that person to have a certification. Okay. So hopefully that helps.
Very good. Representative Berger, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator, and also what was said to, there'd be a hopefully a mentor that would go along with them, the seasoned veteran teacher that would be right there mentoring him. I believe that's what PTSB. I don't know if that's in rule that they have to have a mentor, but I sure would like to see, if they're not going to student teach, I sure would like to make it would be more palatable for me if there was a mentor. And that mentor also probably having a stipend because it's a lot of work.
Did you have a
Thank you.
question in there?
Just wanted to make sure the mentor, that.
Okay. Go ahead, Representative, or I'm sorry, Senator Larson.
I think it's the mentor. Is there supposed to be a mentor?
Look at it.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Berger, that could be something that the rules had decided, or maybe even the school board for that particular school district.
Okay. Any further questions? Anybody else like to comment publicly? Go ahead. Please come up. Mr. O'Connor, PTSB.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There've been a few questions, so I'll try to answer as best I can remember, but Representative Closton asked if we could do this right now or if we had to wait for the law. We actually can do this right now with our current rules. And as I stated before, the advocate joined us. This is really in the provider's best interest for the future. And then, yes, for rules, sorry, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Representative Berger's question about rules and mentorship and other requirements, we can establish that in rules as well. And that would be my preference that they do, because this program is not designed for them to have any in-class experience before they get certified and hired. Other programs do allow for some. Traditional programs obviously do, and they do have the student teaching. This one gets around that piece, gets them into the classroom, but then again, on that sheet that I shared with you, you see that most of those states do require a mentorship and some other evaluation types of things to go through. And we would advise that not only for this one program that was represented, but any similar types of provider programs.
Go ahead, follow up.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. O'Connor, we put this in statute and we have the statute here. Would that hinder or stop your rulemaking or make your rulemaking slow down? Would the process slow down for you?
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman, Representative Berger, no, it really won't have any effect for us as far as we could, with or without this, we could make a new certificate through rules and have those types of qualifications as we we're just visiting about. So that wouldn't affect our ability. And that actually, with the amended language, which I worked with the sponsor and Mr. Yude, we struck out a lot of the language that was particular to the program that he was representing. And so it allows us more flexibility.
Further questions? Not appearing. All right. Anybody else want to speak on Senate File 168? Guess we'll stay, Senator. We'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move the bill.
Moved by Andrews, seconded by Allred. Discussion. Or amendments, go ahead. Go ahead, Representative Brown.
I'll just say what I think somebody down there was kind of trying to figure out what to say, but I won't be voting for this. I don't see any necessarily need for this. I appreciate the understanding that we feel better when we put it into statute, but We're already doing it. It is more nimble. It is quicker when it's in rule. We're already doing this in multiple different stances. I don't see the need for the piece of legislation, so I won't be voting for it.
Anybody else want to comment? Representative Clauston, go ahead.
You know, I'm the sponsor on the representative side, and I think it went through unanimously on House education and on the House floor. I don't think there any dissent against it.
Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
Representative Clauston. No, there wasn't any people against it, I don't think. I mean, there was a little bit of comments like this,
Yeah,
but I think getting it into statutes a good thing. And we took out a lot of the specifics in there, and we do want the PTSB board to to work on the rules and get them get it functioning good. But we did want to make sure it was in statute so people are aware of it. I don't know if there's that many that are aware of it also. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in response to that, I appreciate the good work of the Senate. I will say, I think we have the smartest, brightest committee in the legislature. Got at least 2 honorable doctors on the board, or on this committee. So we passed some other legislation, I think, through this committee recently that didn't do much more than what could already be done. And I've gotten a lot of pushback after that, and having gone through that process of, okay, maybe implementing this into law when we don't have a problem to fix right now is problematic, and has unintended consequences at times. And so I think, as much as I want to help with teacher shortages, it sounds like if we need help with teacher shortages, we can already go to the people doing the certification and working through this to do that. I also think that there's other pieces of legislation that we put through this year that are trying to help fix that problem in other ways. And so I'm going to be a no on this for that reason. Certainly, if a real problem comes before us and next year or whenever, I'm more than happy to bring a solution for it, but just keep getting heartburn every time we're passing stuff that is a solution to a problem we don't have right now.
Further comments? Go ahead, Representative Allred.
I seconded it just so we could have this discussion, okay? And I will withdraw my second.
Oh. Okay. Would anybody like to second it? Going once, twice? Bill dies without a second. Thank you, Senator, for bringing it.
You don't
have
once 83, right?
And Senate File 83, the bringer of the bill has asked us to lay it back one day so he can get some amendments put together that the President of the Senate has asked for. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you for showing up.